Hello and welcome to the podcast Brain Wealth with your host, Bryan Reppel. Bryan, it's been a while since I've seen you, brother. We got some catching up to do. What you been up to?
Yeah, hey, Bill, I've been on the road, and I think this is going to be a great podcast because it has to deal with just getting back from Medellin, Colombia, and getting stem cell treatment done down there. So while I've been gone, I've been getting my body injected with all these new stem cells, and we're going to talk about that here today.
Yeah. Well, wait, before we get into the stem cells and what they are, it kind of invites the question, you and I were talking before the podcast, how did you get into this and what made you want to do it?
Yeah, great question. That's kind of what the whole conversation around brain wealth is. It's the ability of your health is your wealth. I mean, when you're sick, you can have all the money you want, but all you can think about is getting better. You can't hear the birds chirping. You can't see the colors of the beautiful sky when you're in pain. Your health is your wealth. And I traveled with Tony Robbins for many years. I heard Tony Robbins doing stem cells back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, those years. And I brought I didn't bring the term biohacking. I did not create that, but I brought a biohacking company to Orlando called OsteoStrong.
Okay.
And so it got me in the space of learning about regeneration of the bones and how bone growth can take place. And what I discovered was there were a lot of research was when you're in your 20s and 30s, your bones are at the maximum growth level. They grow, then they stop growing. Then you spend the next 40, 50 years of life in this declining degenerative bone stage. Men and women specifically because their bodies go through so much more than men do. Yeah. Through having babies, menopause, and certain things. So I just went on this journey of understanding how the body works in a lot of different areas. So was always intrigued by the body, and I'm going to say the not so conventional, just go trust a doctor and take medicine and pop a pill to solve the problem. Because I don't believe that solves the problem. That doesn't address the root. It creates other problems. So I've always been into the space of let me look at what is kind of the more cutting edge, maybe other type of medicine ways of treating the body. I mean, I haven't been to a doctor in over 10 years. I don't even have a doctor. So I'm looking for a different type of advanced therapies that are not mainstream or maybe the pharmaceutical companies aren't going to tell you about. So yeah, so that kind of got me into it. And that's kind of where Brain Wealth was spun out from. Yeah, I'm doing all these things about how to make your body better, but more natural ways of doing it in quicker ways. So that's kind of got me into it, and finally took the leap of faith after many years of looking at stem cells and saying, you know what? I'm tired of talking about it. I don't know anyone that's done it except for people I've heard on Instagram, YouTube, and places like that. I said, it's time to take a leap of faith and let's do it. So that's what we're going to go through here today.
Well, this is good because this is in a podcast I'm going to be extremely interested in because you don't know this about me, but I've had a couple of back surgeries because I have spinal issues going on. And over the last 50 years, I've gone to chiropractors. Mostly I've gone to acupuncturists, however, and I found acupuncture to be extremely helpful to me. So I'm not adverse to ideas of alternative and different kinds of therapy at all. And I am intrigued about this. So why don't we start with what are stem cells? We've all heard the phrase. We all have an idea about it. So how are they good for the body in your opinion? I heard you talk about the regeneration process. How does that work? And just tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's think about like this, your body. Think of your body like this busy city, this bustling, really busy city.
Oh yeah.
It has roads, there's buildings, there's maintenance crews. Everyone's working hard to keep everything functioning smoothly. Now, let's just say we live here in Florida, and there's a big storm. We just got Helene that just came through. There's a big storm that comes through and damages some of the buildings, leaving potholes in the roads, broken down infrastructure. Let's just I had to when I was down there, I was coming up with stories like, how do I frame this thing out?
No, this makes sense. Yeah.
So normally your body's natural repair crew would show up.
Yeah.
But as you age, these crews, they get smaller and less efficient. So the cells that are coming into your body every every day they're smaller and they're just not as powerful when you were younger. I'm 49 years old. They've been fighting 49 years in my body. They're not producing this. And we just talked about your bone development stops around in your 20s. As you hit 30, your bone development. So the bones start becoming weaker as you get age. Same thing with your stem cells. They've been fighting for so long. So when I was down there, one of the first things I did was an IV drip of stem cells. So it's like a powerful fleet of kind of repair trucks and service men and women coming to get dispatched all over your city, kind of using that analogy. So they're coming in. So I got injected with 250 million new stem cells. So when you receive this IV drip of stem cells, they enter your bloodstream. They begin scanning the entire body for areas that are in need of repair, whether it's joints inflamed by arthritis, damaged tissues in your organs. So if you think about the IV drip, it's going right into your bloodstream. It's going into your lungs, your heart. It's looking at your liver, your kidneys. It's looking at these areas that have just tissue damage over time. They've been working so long, and they've been trying to fight for you. And so you can even look at other areas for instance, in your brain. There could be high levels of inflammation in there. So it can be preventative for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and other things that for cognitive purposes. So there's a lot of research that's going on there for the brain that's starting to come out as well, stem cells and helping treat long-term effects. So these stem cells, they basically follow signals within your body, releasing to the damage. Think of it like a GPS system. It's basically guiding these cells to the exact places that need help. So once they arrive, the stem cells don't just show up and just say like, all right, we're going to patch up the damaged area. They release these growth factors, proteins, and tiny instructions called exosomes. So these exosomes are going into the body, in these areas that need repairing, telling your existing cells. So I use the idea of saying, all right, I'm 49 years old. I have these old cells in my body. The new cells are coming in all the time, every day. Everybody has them, but they're tired, they're worn out. I basically just got an injection of 250 million new Marines coming into the body saying, all right, we're going to come alongside your old cells and we're going to go fight inflammation, tissue damage, all these other things that are going in your body so we can slow down the aging process, fight inflammation, and then help speed up repair for damaged areas in the body. So it's kind of like the effect that's taking place. It's really enhancing your overall health and promoting healing.
Okay, I'm ready to get about 10 times as many new stem cells as you did, okay? But wait, I don't understand something. So you get this through an IV drip. You kind of alluded to this, but I am intrigued. Are they purposed? I mean, I don't fully understand stem cells, okay? So when you're getting this drip, are they purposed? Or are they entering your body looking? You said they were entered the body looking for things to repair. So that kind of confused me. So I mean, let's say I've got a targeted area, like for me, it would be
The back.
in my spine, in my back, right? So how would those cells know where to go? I mean, give me a little more of that if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can do multiple different things. You can do targeted areas. For instance, as in addition to doing the IV drip, because the IV drip was such a protocol that just says, hey, we go in through the bloodstream and we will go through areas of your body. But the first area it goes through will be the organs. It filters through the blood system into the heart, the lungs. It's going throughout that system. If you're looking to target certain areas, like I targeted my knee, so those cells will go right into the joint of the knee, the hip, the back. Yeah. So, and if you have like for instance, I have osteoarthritis in one of my knees, and so by targeting in there, if there's any still meniscus or tissue damage in there, it can potentially, I don't want to say it's guaranteed or any of that stuff. I think it can potentially get in there and start helping with the regeneration process in those targeted areas.
This is interesting.
Yeah. So from the stem cell, the reason why I did the IV drip, because like I was saying, I was in Medellin, Colombia, and we'll talk about that in a second. Like, wow, Medellin, well, you had to fly all the way to Colombia to get this done. But really, I'll kind of go through that in a second. But I think when I did all the research and what I was kind of discovering was like a lot of people are asking the question, like, what can you really expect? What are some things that you would expect to see out of this? And kind of when I did my research, and I was going to kind of go off some of the things that I've um, thought through was one, I think the first one is you're going to really see the gradual improvement of your overall well-being. That's the first thing. It's like, all right, cool. That just sounds great alone. So you get like a sense of just of increased wellness, improved vitality, maybe less fatigue. Because if you're having less anti-inflammatory problems in your body, then you can start regenerating things in your body. Maybe reduce aches and pains. That's a big one. As you get older, you bend over, you're like, oh, I'm a little sore here. Well, if you can reduce the aches and pains, that would be great. And I think it's just making everyday activities easier and more enjoyable. That's a big one. So I think that's a cool one there. I'd go with, because I'm really active. I do these ultra endurance events. I train hard. I still lift weights pretty heavy. I'm active in the gym. So just from that purpose alone, I started doing research when I was down in Medellin, asking chat certain questions about fitness levels. Well, I think what I would expect to see is I'm going to be able to support muscle recovery, reduce my downtime, improve my strength and endurance because I'm 49. The joints are worn out. They've been active for many years. So if I can get improved muscle recovery and improve my strength and endurance, that would be incredible for myself. Sharper cognitive function. We were just talking about some of the things that it can go into the brain. So if you can reduce inflammation in the brain, well, that can help with mental clarity, focus, and again, regenerate effects due to the brain and the nervous system. Those would be great things. I think from a cosmetic standpoint, there's great benefit. Think about the skin being the largest organ of the body. So the skin can appear healthier and more youthful. That's incredible. As you age, we see the aging effects that people have on their skin, and just wrinkles, saggy skin starts happening. So if you can improve the elasticity of the skin, fewer wrinkles, maybe more of a natural glow, I think you start seeing those effects. And I really just say the long-term health benefits is probably more like the systemic healing process, regenerative effects of slowing down the aging process, slowing down the progression of maybe chronic conditions, support healthy aging, promote optimal health. And so just kind of I think just kind of wrapping that all together of what the slowing the age. I mean, I used the analogy with a client the other day. I might have been a friend even said it a couple times to different people, but if you bang your arm or you hurt yourself at age 49, well, the repair time to get healed and to feel the healing process may take up to, used to be like 24 hours when you were 5 years old. You'd bounce back. Well, now it takes maybe a week to 2 weeks for that healing to occur. Well, why is that? Because the cells are just slower. They're not as efficient. They got so much work they're doing in the body, and the healing time is slower as we get older. We all feel that. It's not like when we were 5 years old and you bounce back the next day. Well, getting these new cells help that recovery time for your body. That's the easiest way of saying it. When you get a scrape, you know how long it takes to recover. So these are things I'm starting to discover through this. And that's what makes it exciting. It's like, all right, this is really cool.
I got a quick question here.
Yeah, please.
Because from talking with you, I know this, and anybody who's been listening to the podcast knows this. You mentioned it. You're very active. There are a lot of athletic content and sporting contests in which you participate. You do go to the gym a lot, and we both know that when you actively exercise, when you're engaged in vigorous exercise, when you're lifting and stuff, you feel better. So what's the difference? Because I'm kind of curious, because you would be the guy to know this, just at least, from an experiential standpoint. What's the difference between that feeling and the feeling you had when you went in and had the stem cell therapy? You talked about feeling better and stuff. I'm kind of curious about what felt different about that from the stuff you do on an ordinary basis, and that high you get after a really good workout.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's anytime you work out, you are creating inflammation in your body. Mm-hmm. It's just natural. So if you lift legs, you're going to have inflammation there. There's just because you're putting stress, you're putting wear.
They're going to be sore.
Yeah, well, you're putting wear and tear on those joints, and that's just a natural part of the process, which is why you take a lot of supplements and powders and things like that to help speed up the recovery process. So by getting the cells done, so if there's been any tissue tear in your rotator cuff, in your shoulders, or in your back, or in your knees, a lot of that the stem cells are going to go in there, help get rid of the inflammation, fight it off, as well as begin to repair those damaged tissue and those joints that are taking place. So now when you're going in there to work out, your recovery times can be a lot better. The fluidity of the joint should be a lot easier to get movement in there. And then as well as the recovery time should be a lot faster. So because I just got these done, I'm now in week 2. They say it's almost like planting a garden. If you go out in the backyard and you plant a garden, you're going to put your fruits, your vegetables, whatever you're going to build in there. Well, it's going to take time for the soil to begin to reap those rewards. So it takes like, a couple weeks, you notice a few things, a couple months, you'll notice more, and then you'll be at a fully optimal level, maybe 4 to 6 months. But one of the first things I just started seeing, Bill, which is really neat, because I was kind of like, all right, what am I going to see out of this? What am I going to notice right away?
Yeah.
And it hit me about 4 or 5 days later. It was over the weekend. I sent a message to one of the clinic directors, and I said, this is amazing. The last couple nights, I have had deep sleep for about 4 to 5 nights. And I went into ChatGPT and I started asking questions about stem cell and sleep and having deeper sleep. And I didn't know this, but it was talking about that's one of the first things that you'll start to notice coming out of it is that your sleep cycle will get better. And I've been a decent sleeper, not always the best, where I get up in the middle of the night and toss and turn and I might, but for the last couple of nights, the reason why I thought about this, I remember having a dream and I was like, whoa, a dream? What was that? And I started thinking about it, and that correlated to, oh my gosh, the last couple of nights, you slept through the whole night and you woke up feeling really good in the morning. And I sent that message to the clinic director. I said, is this common? They said, it's one of the first things you'll start noticing is about your sleep. And I said, wow, you're living life so much, you forget about things that if things improve, you don't know things are improving because you've lived with something for so long. And so I've lived with getting up in the middle of the night or getting up early in the morning.
Sure.
And now I'm waking up. I'm like, I had a deep sleep. I felt like I just felt renewed. And it was like a really interesting feeling coming out of that. And by the way, sleep's an amazing thing for working out and regenerating testosterone, creating cell development in your body, repairing your body. Sleep's a great
As you're talking about this, I'm thinking like one of the things that is uncontroversially recognized is the fact that if you get better, deeper sleep, you get more and better, deeper sleep, it has profound impacts on you in a really positive way in terms of weight loss, in terms of inflammation, in terms of recovery and everything else. So what you're saying makes a ton of sense, to me at least.
Yeah, well, think about it. How do 10-year-olds sleep? 12-year-olds? They sleep for hours. You put a 10-year-old or 12-year-old on a Saturday morning, and you'll find out it's like 11 o'clock and they're still sleeping. They're like, they just had this natural sleep in them. But as we get older, it's like harder for us to sleep. We may take little naps, we may do stuff, but the sleep cycle is not the same. So I think it's kind of like, well, if you're getting these cells, you're going back to that regenerate process. That sleep can be deeper and more impactful for you. So, it's one of the questions that people do ask, Bill, is where do these stem cells come from? And where do you get them?
I'm going to go there next
so it's what's really interesting is and I'll talk about Medellin too, but these stem cells in Medellin, particularly, and maybe in Panama, and well, let me back out. There's a term that's being used, and it's called medical tourism, and it's a term that says, all right, well, we know what tourism is, but what's happening, the medical part is people are traveling to other countries, Turkey, Greece, South America, and for instance, Mexico, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico. They're traveling to Panama. They're traveling to other locations because of the advancements that they are having in, whether it's for maybe getting your teeth done, if you need veneers or hair transplants or, call it vanity type of things, facelifts and other things, but stem cells.
They're doing it, because honestly, a couple of different reasons. One, the insurance doesn't cover them here in the States. two because insurance doesn't cover them if you want to go and get these things done. It's incredibly expensive. A lot of these things are way expensive. And people who can afford to go somewhere else, like you did to Colombia, you can find, wait, this is an affordable thing. Guess what, man? I can actually do this. And I'm assuming that's why you went to Colombia. And that, is, the term medical tourism kind of has a negative connotation to it, but I don't think of it as a negative at all.
I don't know why they think of it as a negative, because it's to me, it was opportunity. And what I found was, if you take the United States, so when they're doing the stem cells in the United States, they're taking it generally from your own bone marrow or fat.
Okay.
All right. Well, again, we talked about earlier, just briefly, but my bones are 49 years old. So they're not producing this at the same stem cells rate, and they're not as efficient.
Right.
And so I'm getting a cells from my older body. Now that could be argued by doctors here in America. They probably say that's the best way to do it. Okay. But down in Colombia and other parts of South America, for instance, we're getting it from the umbilical cord from a healthy full birth baby. So many times the umbilical cord before stem cells, they would be thrown away. They'd just be trashed after the baby was born.
Right.
So now what they discovered was these stem cells can be used for alternative purposes. So they're stripping the stem cells. They're doing things ethically. They're looking at the parents, or checking out the parents' health and make sure the baby's healthy. And so what I discovered through the process was they have a lot of experience. I mean, my old stem cells have all this new experience, all this old experience, but these new stem cells can come in alongside my older cells. Yeah. So they're taking the umbilical cord from these cells, they're bringing it to basically the specialists, the clinics, and they're putting it through the test. They want to make sure that they're certified. There's protocols that they go through before it goes to I'm going to call it to the doctor's office, before it gets injected in you. Yeah. And so it's going through proper protocols that I looked at, saying, all right, that's fine. And what you just mentioned too was, if you look at the United States, fine, you go to the doctor's office, you see these beautiful clinics, there's high overhead for the doctors, there's high overhead for the clinic itself in the United States. And we also know that we have all this FDA and all this red tape that people have to go through to get any type of stuff done. I mean, heck, you could get a phone, the new iPhone in Japan probably a year ago, but it took maybe a year to get it over here in the United States. It's got to go through all this protocol to get here. So that's basically what we're doing. While things are tied up in the US and all their development and how they're going to make money off things, well, you can go to these other countries that are maybe a little bit more advanced in these protocols and get stuff done at a much cheaper level, maybe a half to a third of the cost here in the United States. And you get an experience, because a lot of people say, Bryan, you went to Medellin. It was that safe. Like, Medellin was absolutely incredible. Yes, the people speak Spanish down, the majority, but what part of it with medical tourism, what I discovered in doing a lot of research on this, was they pick you up at the airport. They share with you hotels to stay in that are very luxurious, very nice hotels that would cost $500, $600, $700 a night in the States, that are $150 to $200 down there. They pick you up every day from your hotel, take you to the clinic. So it's a very first class style of treatment that you're experiencing. So they remove they try to remove all the doubt or uncertainty of that experience of going down there. So you're like, hey, you're in great hands. You're going to be treated great. And then when you go in there, your body's just kind of very comfortable, ready to receive whatever it is you're going to get done. Yeah. And I just found that stem cells I just talked about it a long time. I've listened to Tony Robbins, a lot of podcasts with Ben Greenfield, Dave Asprey, a lot of names, Joe Rogan, names that people may be familiar with, and just heard them. They've been doing it. These are individuals that have access to great information. They have access to a lot of information. They interview a lot of people and stuff. And so after hearing about all this stuff, I said, you know what, let's take the leap of faith. Speaking to multiple clinics down in Medellin, found one. And what I discovered was, if you get more areas done, well, they negotiate. So you're able to negotiate on the pricing as you were able to get more stuff done on your body. And so I was able to drive down costs. I got a couple other, besides getting the knee done, did some other treatments as well. in the IV drip,
Huh.
and was able to get that done. So just overall, it was a great. I have other family members that now want to go and they want to experience it. They've read some of the reports I've given them, my family. So it was a great process.
That's great. That is great. I find it really appealing. And and it fits with, I think, and you can tie this up, Boris. This really does. Everything you've just talked about fits with the entire theme of this podcast. And we've talked about it before. You talk about the value of your brain health and your brain wealth. And I am a person who, like you, believe that the mind and the body are one, not two different entities, but actually the same entity within each other. So yeah, this makes total sense, Bryan.
Well, yeah, Bill, reality is your mind can create, the reason it's called brain wealth, because your brain, it has to be created in two places first. It's got to be one, you have to be able to see it, visualize it, and create it in your mind first. The brain has to be able to go there,
Yeah.
then it can be created on the outside. The mind can also create disease or sickness, the way we think and live, or it can create health and abundance. And so, one of the things that I'm doing some rebranding here at the company, because we want people, I want to live, and that's something I really want to share with our clients and listeners, is about living wealthy. That's WELLTHY.
Amen.
It's
Yep.
living wealthy. And that's really having a purpose plan around for an abundant life. And that's what we're really trying to teach is about abundance, what's possible. And so that's one of the reasons why I did the stem cells, is because I wanted to take the leap of faith, saying, all right, I'm willing to do this. I want to test this out. I'm turning 50 next year. What's going to happen in my life as I plant the garden, as we talked about?
Yep.
And so if I can revitalize this body for the next 20, 30 years, well, it starts now. And because we talked about the body will show up in 20 years from now. The question is, how is it going to show up? I got to program my mind with my thoughts. I'm going to not only do that, I'm doing the things now with new science, with these advanced therapies that are taking place, cutting edge therapies, stem cells, so that when the body goes through this transition process, going into 50 and aging, all right, well, I'm prepared for it. It's like, all right, let's go fight these battles, but we're going to do it with abundance and living free with it. So, for anyone that's interested, please reach out, email me at Bryan, BRYAN at GAReppel.com, or go to reppelwealthgroup.com. And you can reach out to me as well there. And I can give you information on the clinic I went to, send you over YouTube videos that they sent me. There's a lot of information's out there. And there's a lot of great data that's out there as well. And then figure out where it fits into your life and into your health. Like you were talking about, Bill, your back. It's great for the back, anywhere on the joints. People go down there for cosmetic, for their faces, their hair, a lot of different things that you can be have it looked at to whatever your needs are. So it's not a cure for everything, but it's definitely something to explore and to allow your body to get reset so you can live an abundant life.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating. I mean, to be sure, for those of you who are listening, there are risks involved with that. And it is always, just like in investing, it's a risk reward ratio. Take a look at it, think about it, and, make your own decisions about it. For those of you who are listening to this podcast for the first time, by the way, and you're not yet a subscriber, the one thing you can do that has no risk associated with it is hit the follow button and become a subscriber. Every time Bryan drops a new episode of the podcast, you'll be notified. You can give it a listen. And I would say, if you like this podcast, I would ask you to share with people, tell people about it, because word of mouth promotion is invaluable and would be deeply appreciated. Again, if this interests you, if everything Bryan's talking about today interests you, reach out to Bryan and, ask him about it. He'll respond to you. He'll get back to you. In the meantime, until next time, I want to remind you that you can go out today and make today a great day or not. The choice is yours. Have a good one. Until next time.